Welcome to the Business Grind, where we give you an inside perspective on what it takes to start, build, and run a successful business. Here are your hosts, Danny Shaw and Sean Michael Wellington.
All right, welcome back to everyone in podcast land. We're back with part 2 of our episode with Jessica Spaulding, founder of the Harlem Chocolate Factory. We hope you enjoy.
When that 2 weeks came up and went by, and then the world started getting bad, and I was like, oh, okay, well, you know, we survived everything else, but this is the end of Harlem Chocolate Factory. But at the same time, like, you still kind of gotta keep pushing, right? Like, you, like, in my head, I'm like, oh, it's over, but it's a bunch of people that's here now, right? And what started happening is our customers started like writing us like, yo, I had the worst day. Because remember, our whole business was reliant on corporate gifting and corporate ordering. Mm-hmm. We never really relied on our retail component. And with that, all of our events for the rest of the year, like our bread and butter, have been canceled. All of our corporate orders that was coming in. Mm-hmm. So like you're talking about in the series of a month, $100,000 loss. Mm. Like, I'm like, oh, listen, I tell everybody, like, I lost $10 one time getting on a train, and I was devastated. Like, I was devastated. It flew out my pocket. And it was like my only $10 on this whole earth. And I was on the bus crying like a baby. Like, I knew I was so glad that's before like real life smartphones, because I was devastated. It was my only $10 and I really, really needed it. And, I did not understand why I went through that, because losing that 100,000, I realized, I was like, oh, I'm a real full-fledged entrepreneur, because like I'm going to sleep right now. It's nothing I could do about it. Right. Like, we got to find a different way to make it back. And what wound up happening is our customers that were from the community and around us was like, nah, yo, I had a horrible day. Like, I lost my aunt, I lost my uncle, I lost my father, I lost my sister, I lost my mom. Like, I lost all these people. I need a piece of chocolate. Like, yo, my mother is suffering being in the house by herself. Can you mail her something? I'm like, yo, we starting to get a lot of hits on the website. And it was never like our centralized like focus, because we were always focused on corporate gifting, that they were like, we started like, all right, well, listen, yo, you saw that was like 2,500 yesterday. Like, what was that? Like, okay, let's go back on. Oh, word. Like, and then those same corporations that canceled everything was like, yo, our employees are in the house suffering, can you send them some chocolate? I'm like, all right, but now we've been closed for 3 months, we ain't got no money to operate. And UPS is now taking a week and a half to deliver something that used to take a day. So I'm like, what the hell are we about to do? Like, we need more money. And I say it's the craziest thing. I never try to push my like religious beliefs on anybody, because it's more spiritual beliefs. But Oprah, Beyonce, and the CEO of Lowe's came together and saved Harlem Chocolate Factory. That's crazy.
That's crazy. That tell us, please. Let us hear the craziness
because we were at zero, right? Like, yes, we had all these orders coming in, but the mounting shipping delays, the amount of packages that were being lost. Remember, everybody was shipping everything. So, I mean, I think like we'd send out 100 packages and maybe 25 would get where they were supposed to go. Maybe 50% was being lost, like packages that just were not delivered. And then there was another large percentage where it's like melting, just timing was off from, it used to take one day to get things to Rhode Island, and it was taking 2 weeks. Even upstate New York was like, it was supposed to be one day, and it was taking like a week and a half. Things was taking a week and a half to get to Brooklyn. So we were losing so much more money than we were making. And the more the interest in the brand started to grow, I'm like, we need real life money so that we can get into like some bigger shipping platforms and, you know, maybe use a 3PL, which is like a third party logistics company that can ship your stuff for you. And they have more regulated rates and, you know, now they weren't even guaranteeing overnight. They weren't guaranteeing anything. So it was like, they were only guaranteeing overnight. Anything under that, they weren't, there was no guarantees on. So we were just in a place that's like, all right, listen, we have to shut down shipping because we're going to end our business on these losses. But I'm like, how are we going to survive until the winter when it's like, all right, if it takes a week to get there, it's fine because it's going to be cold the entire time. And in like July, we got the call from Oprah. And I was like, wait, what? Like, what you want to talk to us about?
How did that happen? Was it the Oprah or was it like a representative for Oprah?
It was her second in command over at O Magazine. Adam Glassman, who actually called me. I was so afraid of the samples we were sending out. This is another samples conversation. They wanted to see what we could ship. And I'm like, okay, what can we do? And what can we do at a volume? And what can we do at a volume? And what can we make in 6 weeks at volume? And so I'm like, our chocolate bars, but we had never made them at that scale. So I'm like, and we didn't have packaging. All we had was the actual bar. So me and my mother, we glued like the packaging onto a box to just show what it would look like. And I like made some cutouts and some computer animations. And we had to ship it to Oprah, and then we had to take two to other reps at the magazine. And I drove it to someone's house. And right. I sat in their driveway because I'm like, listen, I can't deal with
you. Can't risk it.
I can't risk it.
No.
I sat outside like a psychopath, and I dropped it, and then he came into the driveway when I was leaving because I didn't want it to just sit out there if he was like out for the day and it was like anything getting melted. So I left it and then drove off, and they called me the next week. It's like, okay, we saw the cutouts. Like, do you truly think that you could do it? Like, we're not trying to ruin your business, whatever. And I'm like, no, I wouldn't submit myself if I didn't think we could pull it off. While also recognizing that I had no idea how the hell we was about to pull that off. Like, right, we ain't got no money. We already in the hole from all these shipping disasters. Like, we don't have none of the bread. We have none of the startup to even do a order at this level. They were asking us to be prepped for anywhere from 10 to 15,000 units, which would mean somewhere around like 100,000 chocolate bars for us. And so I'm like, yeah, we can do it. I got you. And I'm like, how are we gonna get the money? And the next week we won a grant from the CEO of Lowe's. And then I'm like, all right, all of that money is going into the Oprah order. We need to reopen this shop because our local community been asking, they've been supporting, they the reason why we still here. How we gonna open up? Like, we don't have no money. We have no money. Everything's tied up into Oprah. Everything's tied up on that. And and we just was like, all right, we're gonna open though. right? Like, we're just gonna open and just see what happens. And the next week we won the Beyonce grant, the Bay Good grant.
Nice.
And her promotion of it, we had like a line outside.
Wow.
So between Oprah and Beyonce and the CEO of Lowe's, like, they saved Harlem Chocolate Factory.
Nice.
Wow.
Good stuff. I know, Sean, you have a question. I just want one follow question, and I'll back up.
Yeah.
Do you know how you got on the radar for O and
Yo, I will tell you right here, right now. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know how. I don't know. I know that I think someone from the magazine like came to the shop one time and like loved the chocolates and like threw our name in the hat. That's what happens a lot of time. Like, people just be throwing our name in the hat for stuff. Like, there's a lot of opportunities that have come along that because somebody threw our name and like just was like, oh, what about Harlem Chocolate Factory? Like,
right.
And that's how it's been. Like, people just genuinely holding us down. Like, we are a word of mouth brand. Like, we have gotten to the sales that we've gotten. And I have spent $500 on marketing, and by accident also, because I signed up for like Facebook ads, and I didn't know, like, they were like, oh, what's your budget? And so when I put $5, I thought it was just going to be, once I spent $5, I was going to be done. And it was like, no, it started charging my card. And it was like $260 one week. And I'm like, oh no, like, how do I turn this off? Like, and I didn't realize it was like for the clicks, and $5 was like the budget per person for whatever volume we're getting. I still don't understand like Facebook ads, and which means I'm not like a wonderful marketer. I do not understand Instagram ads. I don't understand ads at all. Everything that we have done has been off of press and word of mouth. All the press that we have gotten is word of mouth.
Great. Great. No, that's great. That's good. Your rep precedes you. Sean, you had something?
Yeah, I was just curious about you mentioned earlier, or you at least alluded to, like, 2 iterations of the business, Chocolate Factory 2.0. So I just wanted to kind of like circle back to that and let us, if you could let us know, like, exactly, you know, when that happened, when you, like, I guess, relaunched, or just kind of tell us a little bit more about that part of it.
I mean, I think every day is a relaunch when you are figuring it out. I would say the Harlem Chocolate Factory that exists today isn't the same one that existed, you know, last year. As I refine and become stronger as a business owner, like, I don't think I would have these same issues for any subsequent businesses I have, because I understand how to choose a model and how to stick to it. But for now, we are in a space where we have our retail location and soon to be locations, and our production kitchen, and we are continuing to just grow brand awareness and being more intentional about growing brand awareness versus having it live in this kind of like haphazard. When somebody bring my name up, I want it to be a space where you think about bringing up Harlem Chocolate Factory's name, not by accident. I don't know if that answers your question, but
yeah, it definitely did. Yeah,
this is great. Sean, I feel like I've been hogging, so I just want to defer to you, but because I'm like, I'm amazed over here, actually.
See, so it lived up to the billing in the
beginning,
right?
It did. I'm very intrigued. So, and I know we're like way beyond time. This might be a two-part episode, actually.
I'm sorry, I need to.
So
no, I apologize for
no. We're not. No,
I just be wanting people to really save themselves and to understand all the things that you have to consider, right?
Right.
Like, everybody, I think that people need to understand what type of businesses they want to build, right? And there are very intentional things that you have to do. If you are trying to solely support yourself and then maybe you don't need to do as many things as you think you need to do, right? Like if I say like people trying to come out with products and people trying to come out with these things, and if that's not the core of your business, like perform your services and just do what you need to do. I'm never trying to have people limit themselves on where they need to be, but I do think that in this culture where you are less than if you don't have 10,000 things going on, like how do you rest? What is the point of your life if you are unhappy and you are chasing something that one you're not even aware of? Like there's a very specific level of sacrifice that goes into the level of business that I'm trying to create, right? Like I didn't do this to even do like, oh, $1 million a year ain't enough for me. 10 million a year ain't enough for me. Like, but for this specific business, I think our thresholds are a little bit higher if I am strategic enough. What I find is people are operating at levels not conducive to the life that they actually want to live. You're living and you're trying to run your $200,000 business like it's a $10 million business and creating havoc and commotion in your own life when you may be clearing more money. I know there are times my friends that have $200,000-$300,000 businesses have made more money than me, like personally. And it's like, you know, you worried about the revenue and you should be worrying about the net. Like, and making sure that you like you're satisfied with that, right? Like I have some very specific things that I think that this brand can break, but and it doesn't make sense for us to not push it to that limit when the brand itself can do that. But I have other businesses. I was like, oh, okay, like this will make me a cool little, you know, million in the background, right? And at the time where this is set up and going and it don't need me no more, then I can get into those things. But I definitely just urge people to look at the business that they're actually creating and whether or not they want the stress, right? Like, I don't want to pass down the stress of this business to my children, the operations. And it's actually like B. Dixon from Honey Pot. We were on a call one time and she was like, why would you ever damn your children with the operations that go into operating a $100 million business? Like, right. Like pass down a board seat, pass down something that, you know, the royalties and the generation that without the stress. The point is for us to live peaceful and happy lives. Operations is stressful. And so like, you know, that's the point. But if you are in a space where you are netting an amount of money that brings you peace and calm and happiness, and you operate your business in a state of peace and calm and happiness, then look for ways to have that be sustainable without you, without necessarily trying to specifically overgrow it. You know,
right,
like that it just takes a different level. And now if you can, if that's not something that breaks you, if that's not something that wipes the sweat off your brow, then you're good. But I know that there are people who it's like, that level of people management, that level of culture development ain't for you. You could be taking the money that you currently make and finding ways to invest it rather than only continuing to drill our people into being like workhorses, where it's like, nah, you got to be working for it. No, the only thing that makes sense is for the money to make its own. Like let the money make the money. You won't have to own multiple businesses from an operational standpoint. Can you own a business? Absolutely. But owner operator, that concept that people try to continually grow themselves as operators is nuts.
Listen, you are speaking to the choir right now.
I know, right? She's like rehashing all of our previous episodes.
You
right?
are.
So
I don't think we had a guest who has said it so succinctly and just all out in the open like that at once. 'Cause especially with so you You ain't got to convince us.
I mean, listen,
you...
I was on Instagram every day. Just everybody, you need to. Why you ain't start another business?
I blamed it on Dame Dash. I said he started that with that book.
Yo,
Breakfast Club interview. Just started it going crazy.
Funny.
My son has cookies.
About that. First of all, I love him, right? I do.
Me too.
No. Yeah.
Being from Harlem, it's just certain things, but it's like that uncle is like, all right, listen, chill out. Because in that, it creates sometimes, especially when they take the sound bite, right? Like, which his point was about ownership. The idea of not having a boss is silly because for me, when I worked at Department of Homeless Services, I had a boss, and that's the person that I reported to, right? And that person had a boss and whatever, and there were these levels of like what people could do because HR comes in and it's like, oh, okay, cool. And it's just like one person. Maybe on a big day when I have to report to other people, maybe I'm sitting around all the other bosses there, but I could count the amount of bosses I had, right? Like I was the director of marketing. So I wasn't pretty low down. So I only had maybe 20 people above me. So those 20 and none of those 20 people are talking to. I'm talking to 2 people on a daily/weekly basis. Harlem Chocolate Factory. Every single person that has a dollar that I want is my boss.
Yeah.
Every time I want cash from you, I want money from you, you become the boss. Now, do I need to navigate that relationship in a certain way? Like, I don't have to be your lapdog in order to do that. Like, I sell products. I have to have very very strong lines between, like, Harlem Chocolate Factory sells chocolate. If you want to purchase Jessica Spaulding's time, that's a different cost because sometimes with those product things, you know how much certain people just hate paying Black people. So it becomes this thing where people like, oh nah, I want to own my own business because just you ain't got no boss. I'm like, I just spent 2 hours on the phone with a woman mad because her chocolate bar melted. Baby, right. That's not a book. And I wanted to hang up on her, right? I still want to go back in time and hang up on her. But guess what? She orders like fucking $50,000 worth of chocolate from me over the lifetime of my business. So if I want to hear, if she wants to complain about a chocolate bar for 2 hours, then that's what we're going to do. Right. And she wound up complaining and wound up helping us because I'm like, listen, you want to complain about something that I'm complaining about too. You think I ain't melted before I send it to you. Like, it melts in the process. Right. So if you want us to level up, give us some of your contacts, help us with this. And, it's the way you evangelize the people around you. But the idea that you just not going to have somebody to report to, you have to report to your employees. When I make mistakes, when I melted that chocolate, you know who money that came out of? Me. Ain't nobody else, ain't nobody about to not get their check on Friday because I melted some damn chocolate. Like, niggas, they still want their money. I report to every single one of them when I make a decision and when I make a move, when something is deciding, and the absolute pressure of having to make decisions that make or break everyone's livelihood. Listen, I take all of that to have Jeffrey tell me to put some pepperonis on the goddamn pizzas and put it through the oven in a second. But for what I've done, I'm in the position of the boss, but at the end of the day, I report to mad people. Right.
Nope. Well, another gem. I do. No, that's real. I mean, because especially now when we hear it so much nowadays, it's like a mantra. It's like people just say it off their tongue like any other. Oh, I'm my own boss. I have my own, but thinking it means they don't have to answer to anybody, and it's kind of crazy.
It's silly. Yeah. It's silly, and it's a setup to make the everyday working person feel less than.
Oh, yep.
Right?
Yep.
Because when you feel less than, you're easier to control and to manipulate. Let me tell you something. If you are listening to this, you are an entrepreneur. If you go somewhere and you trade your time for money. That is a contract. You are not an enslaved person. You are not an indentured servant. You're just not in any of those type of categories. You have a contracted labor agreement wherever you work at, which means you are an entrepreneur because you have negotiated your time for that money. Now, do you own the business? No, but also the debt ain't in your damn name, so you got a better deal. I would love to have been an employee at Harlem Chocolate Factory. The employees at Harlem Chocolate Factory have always made more money than me. That is so wonderful. Now, am I going to be straight on this exit? Am I going to be straight? Absolutely. But in the times of building, they are much more taken care of than I've been. But when you're somewhere that you feel like you're not being paid correctly, the opposite of that is not, like, people want to avoid the hard work to just go start a business. If you can't negotiate with Brian and HR over the money that you feel due, how you think you're going to call the people at this business trying to play you on paying their invoice? You have to negotiate at all times. You have to have that level of follow-up. If you are avoiding the conflict because you don't want to deal with the conflict around asking for your just due or finding out that people at the business is paid more than you, and you don't want to upset and ruffle feathers about the money that you feel owed, what you think you're going to be doing? You know how many times people have brought something and not paid, and we have to go spin the block, and I will pull up and, hey, yo, you want to hop on a call? We could figure out a payment plan because I need my bread. If you can't play around that and avoiding the difficulties and stress of your job, you're not going to avoid it. They're just going to be expounded in business. Right. So if you're there and you need more money, then you need to be out here on this job market. Oh, I don't want to pitch myself. I've got to pitch this business at every point. So it's like there's no escaping entrepreneurship. If you reign your life as if it were a business, you actually probably fare better because you understand the cycle you're actually in, rather being subjected to it and feeling like you need to escape it.
Right. That kind of goes back to what you were talking about earlier about learning on the job to help you with what you want to do.
Absolutely. Why would you leave where you're working to figure it out? If you're working, even like, listen, the people with the best insight into franchises are people who are working at franchises, which is why people normally move up within the rank and become franchise owners, because you've learned the brand, you've learned the operations. Who better to then do it than them? So there's always the opportunity. There's always a learning experience, and if there's ever one to learn it at work, where you getting that check on Friday. And if you don't want your check on Friday, bring it to me.
Bring it to Harlem Chocolate.
Are you dropping like hints about your next the next level, the next venture for Harlem Chocolate Factory franchising? Are you dropping hints or that was...
you know what's so funny? No. No. We franchise that model is amazing, and I think that could be a great model at some point. Not for where we are right now, but we do have some things in the work that when they come out, I hope, set the world on fire, doing some things that have never been done in our community. And so it's driving me crazy, but we gonna get there.
Right. Well, Jessica, it's been great, been amazing. Thank you for your time. Usually we would ask, we would ask if you have any parting words or anything you want to tell the audience or advice. I feel like you've been doing that throughout the whole show though. But anything parting items or
It's really, listen, I mean, I talk to entrepreneurs all day, every day. The point is just to not give up. Like every L can be come back from, even if you need to pivot. Sometimes Sometimes your business sucks, and that's okay, right? But you as a person, you learn, you adapt. Don't get high on your own supply, and make sure that you have the adaptation to try again, and to try again in a different way, or bring your skills to another company. But everybody not meant to be the CEO, and that's the point, right? Like, if you are great in this sector, find somebody with a good idea that you can work for. Right. Small businesses hire more than if we total of all the employees in America that work for small businesses, they would outweigh the total amount of employees that work for the big businesses. And so you have more area for acceleration if you want a higher title, whatever, in a small business. So don't count them out as opportunity.
Right. Great. Yeah, well, we're definitely, when we do get the episode up, we will post all the business information. But anything you want to promote about any upcoming events at Harlem Chocolate Factory? And,
make sure that you come to our store. We're opened on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We're located at 2363 Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard in Harlem, between 138th and 139th Street. If you are ever able to get a reservation at Tatiana, which is the #1 restaurant in New York City, according to the New York Times, you will be able to order one of our beautiful Harlem Chocolate Factory cheesecakes from their menu. And just, follow us on Instagram, Harlem Chocolate Factory, LinkedIn, Harlem Chocolate Factory. And make sure you tell your boss to order y'all some chocolates for the next little shindig. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, for the next event, for sure. Thank you so much. Sean, you have anything?
Nope. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for sharing everything about your business. I'm so happy we got to talk to you in depth, and hey, we might need to bring you back for a follow-up. So.
Oh, for sure.
Listen, we didn't even get into the specifics of the monies. And, at any time. Listen, I just don't want us all to be spending and wasting money in the same way. So it's just it's really important that we not gatekeep or keep everything behind a paywall. Our community just can't afford it, and so I share whatever knowledge I have on an open basis, because these people on Instagram lying to y'all.
Well, I appreciate it, and I'm sure our audience will appreciate it as well.
No, I appreciate. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, so that's a wrap for this week's episode. We hope you enjoyed our in-depth conversation with Jessica about her business and journey. Hopefully it provided you with some value and inspiration as you navigate through your own journey in personal life. As always, if you have a question you would like us to answer on the show, shoot us a message on any of our social media channels. Also, don't forget to subscribe and share on Spotify and iTunes. See you again soon. In the meantime, keep grinding.
The Business Grind is for entertainment purposes. Opinions expressed are those solely of the host and guests. Please consult with a professional and exercise discretion before engaging in any business endeavors.
I'm out here on the grind. I'm out here on the grind.